السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يوم ترجف الراجفة تتبعها الرادفة. Translation: on the day Tarujuf will quake, the quaking one. Tatba'uha follows it, the subsequent. So, my noble audience, in the past few verses, Allah Almighty made mention by oath the different groups of malaika that are sent down to extract the soul of the good and the bad. Now the theme of the surah will change for the next few verses. The theme of this group of ayat is the day of judgment. How Allah Almighty will bring this world to an end, and how Allah Almighty will bring humanity and the world back to life again. So how Allah will destroy, and how Allah will allow the makhluk to return to its former state. This is the theme of the ayat that will be discussed tonight. So Allah Almighty says in verse number 6, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةُ. On the day the earth and the mountains will shake violently. Indeed, Allah has the power and the ability to use one makhluk at one time, and that makhluk will be destructive. And then that same makhluk will be used again, and that makhluk will be productive. For example, this water. One person drinks this water and it quenches his thirst. And there's another person who drinks the water and he finds that he has been struck by food poison. He has been poisoned. Many a times when we go back to our home countries, if we drink the normal water, we find that our stomach has been disturbed. But the locals, they will drink exactly the same water and nothing will happen to them. As Musa alayhi salatu wassalam with his people walked through the river, and the water is the means of their protection. And when Pharaoh walks through the same water, it destroys them. So we learn from these examples, and I'm going to link it to the ayat in a few moments, that nothing in itself has the ability to reward us or punish us, to benefit us or to harm us. In reality, everything that benefits us, it is because of the idhn of Allah, because of the order of Allah. And anything that harms us, it is because of the idhn of Allah, the irada, the intention of Allah. Now, when we study the episode of destruction and then the recreation, we come to know that Allah has deputed one angel that has been handed over a bugle, a trumpet. And it's amazing. He will blow in the trumpet and everything is destroyed. He will blow in the same trumpet and everything will come back to life again. So it means nothing is in the trumpet. When a person will hear the sound created by the bugle, it will shatter him within and he will die. And people that are sleeping, when they hear the sound after 40 years, it will bring them back to life again. the same sound that is coming from this trumpet. Allah Almighty says, يَوْمَ تَرْجُفُ الرَّاجِفَةُ. It will be shaken. It will be shaken. And many a times, if a thief is caught out, and you say to the thief, give what you have stolen, and he denies of theft, what do? You shake him. So everything that he has stolen drops to the ground. So the first time the trumpet is blown, it will shake the earth, and everything that it contained for centuries that we could not see will be spat out. It will come out. Everything. And then Allah Almighty says, تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةُ. This shaking of the earth will be followed by a second blow. The trumpet will be blown the second time, and then everything will come back to life again. As we have made mention in Surah An-Naba, the tailbone never ever perishes in the grave. Everything else will perish, but the tailbone will remain in its original state. And from this, Allah will recreate the human being. I was reading the Tafseer of Imam Razi, Tafseer Kabir, and I made mention Monday night that he makes mention that think about a human being that has been placed in his grave. Now there are so many insects waiting there to eat him. So now these insects, they eat the entire body. And after eating the entire body, they come out of the grave and they're eaten by a greater insect. Then this greater insect flies away and is eaten by a greater animal. So if we study the path of the particle of this human being, we will come to know that it is in the stomach of so many creatures. Does it make sense? That there's one insect, it is carrying a particle of one human being, and then this insect that contains that particle is in the stomach of another insect, and then that insect is in the stomach of another insect. And how far will this go? Wallahu a'lam, only Allah knows. And it's not only one insect that is eating the flesh of the corpse, but there are so many different insects. But when the second trumpet will be blown by the order of Allah, that human being instantly will stand up. Wherever his flesh is resting, in whichever belly it is resting, it will come together and the human being will stand in the former state. This is the qudrat of Allah Almighty. تَتْبَعُهَا الرَّادِفَةُ. Second time it will be blown, everything will come back together again. Now, this shaking, when you shake something, many a times it breaks. If I shake something, it may break. If it is fragile, it will break. Even if it is not fragile, there is a possibility it will break. That's why in the previous surah, Surah An-Naba, Allah Almighty makes mention of the impact of the violent blow on the heavens. فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا وَفُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا. The heavens will open and you will see doors. Many scholars are of this opinion that you will see cracks. You will see cracks upstairs in the heaven because of the violent shake. And the earth will open up as well. This will be the impact of that violent shake. This is what Allah Almighty is saying in these two verses. Further, قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. Qulub, the plural of qalb, hearts. قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. Hearts that day will shake with fear and anxiety. I have made mention many a times, multiple times, that all emotions, they take birth at the heart. Philosophers, they say that emotions take birth in the aql. Islam says that all emotions take birth at the heart, but they are controlled by the aql. This is our understanding. Now Allah Almighty says, قُلُوبٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاجِفَةٌ. When the bugle is blown, everything will feel the impact. The heavens, the sky, the earth, everything will feel the impact. Now, when human beings will stand up, their heart will be beat rapidly, very, very quickly. Many people will be struck by anxiety. Now, this superficial translation of this ayah does go against many other ayat of the glorious Quran. Allah Almighty, when speaking about the noble people, what does Allah Almighty say? لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ تَحْزَنُونَ. That noble people, they will have no fear. Meaning that they will have no anxiety. They will have no remorse. But according to this, when the trumpet is blown the second time, the hearts will experience anxiety. Now, of course, if we put all the different ayats that are relating to this topic of anxiety, the blowing of the second trumpet, the resurrection of humanity, we come to know that anxiety is only reserved for the non-believers. For believers, they will not find themselves in the state of anxiety. They will stand up with solace and tranquility. The very famous incident that Hafiz Imaduddin has made mention in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, that Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala once was feeling very close to his Creator, and he was expressing what he thought will happen to him once the bugle is blown. And he said to the Nabi of Allah, that I feel that if I have the Iman that I have right now, I feel that if I have the Iman that I hold right now, when I step out of the grave, one step will be in the ground of Hashr, and my second step will be in Jannah. Meaning that 50,000 years will be contracted for me. All the horror, all the pain and the agony, I will bypass it. It will not be for me. Because this Iman is my commute. It is my transport. And it will carry me across this lengthy day. Lengthy day. If you calculate, if one person lived for 100 years, let's say, 50,000 sana, the day of judgment is 50,000 years, you can calculate. If one person was to live 100 years, it is 2.5 minutes of akhirah. Most probably, there will be no one in this room that will survive for 100 years. Most probably. We'll be very, very lucky to hit 100. But if one person was to live for 100 years, if we were to calculate in proportion to that one day that is 50,000 years, we live for 2.5 minutes. So Allah Almighty made Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala say that I will have that Iman that I have right now. I will bypass all the horror, all the pain, all the anxiety. I will stand up. Second step is in Jannah. Qulubun yawma idhin wajifa. Hearts that day will be shaken. They will be in the state of fear and anxiety. And keep in mind, fear and anxiety is for those people that were not prepared. Absaruha khashi'a. Their eyes cast down. Now, when they, come out of the graves, the very famous hadith in which Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha asked the Nabi of Allah that when we are in the state of nudity, won't people be looking at each other? Her modesty propelled her to ask this question. that if we are all in the state of nudity, meaning when we stand up from the grave, we are going to be in the state of nudity. How long are we going to be in that state? People are going to be standing beside us. Won't they be looking at people that are in the state of nudity? So Nabi Kareem Muhammad said people will be unaware at that time. I just want you to focus upon that. You know, many people have confided in me, I won't express their names, of course. They say when we go to perform Umrah, or we go to perform Hajj, now the Kaaba is right there. Kaaba is right there. You will see the Kaaba. And you're making tawaf, and many a times your eyes may make tawaf in a different direction. Your body is circling the Kaaba, but your eyes are circling a human being. And you know that you are in the Haram. And many a times Allah bless the Ummah, many a times there may be a sister that is right in front of you in Hajj, she's making tawaf and your body is hitting her body. And your mind at that time is pure. It's not even, you're controlling your eyes, but now there's a female that is pressing on your body. And despite wanting to keep pure, it is so hard, it is a challenge. True. But everyone is covered. Everyone is covered. I would just like you to depict if everyone was nude. Even if the body of the nude was not pressing on my body, and it was at a distance of 500 meters, I will still be looking. Far, far away. It will attract my sight. Nabi Kareem Muhammad says on that day, people will be unaware of the person standing beside. Unaware. That statement in itself indicates the great horror of that day. The true definition of that day, that is 50,000 years. But glad tidings to the Muslims. We will not be in that state for a prolonged time. Nabi Kareem Muhammad says, think about it, one person comes out of the grave, according to his iman. So just let's say this is the grave. So a person is standing out of his grave. Alright, Allama ibn Hajar Asqalani has commented upon this. Says you come out of the grave, in proportion to your iman, you may be granted the dress of the first step, or the second step, or the third step, or the fourth step. Because what did the Nabi of Allah say? That al-haya wal-iman. When the Prophet of Allah spoke about haya, he attached haya with iman. He said haya and iman are two good friends that travel together. If one part way, the other will as well. They can't live in division, in isolation. So haya has to bring iman, and true iman has to bring haya. One person says, I'm a mu'min, but he's bare haya, he has no haya, he's a liar in his statement, he's hypocritical. And one person that has haya, this haya, even if he's outside the fold of Islam, like Hazrat Usman al-Ghani, he was outside the fold of Islam, but he had haya, and of course there's different dimensions to haya. This haya will bring you into the fold of Islam. Haya is an amazing quality. So when I say that a person will stand from his grave on his first step, according to his iman. Iman 100%, haya 100%. Haya 90%, iman 90%. That's why the Sahaba, when they used to be intimate, Allama Alusi in Ruh al-Mani used to make mention that when the Sahaba used to be intimate, they used to cover themselves. And they said that Allah is watching. That haya, Allah is watching. Then the Nabi of Allah used to say, it doesn't matter if you're covering yourself, Allah is watching you through those sheets as well. So they could relax, they couldn't relax. Because it was in their mind, Allah is watching. This is one dimension of haya. It is one dimension of haya. So if haya is strong, iman is strong. Iman is strong, haya is strong. So many people, they will take the first step and out of the blue, they will find that they are covered. The first person to be covered will be Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and Nabi Imam said, then it will be myself, and then it will be the entire makhluk. So by the time Muslims who have haya have reached, and that means iman, have reached the station where humanity will come to a stop, and they will not move any further. At that time, non-believers will be in the state of nudity, but Muslims will be in the state of full cover. Because they have that iman by that time. So when people are being pushed, they don't look. Why are you pushing? So angels are pushing them. Why are you pushing them? But once you have made it to your station, then you look around. By that time we are covered. Non-believers are uncovered. And because we have iman and we will understand what is happening in that theater, we will lower our gaze. We will lower our gaze. We will. The non-believers will lower their gaze as well. As they mentioned in this ayah, أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ. But this lowering of the gaze is out of regret, remorse. It is just like if the child has made a mistake and the father says, come here, idhar aao. He hasn't made a mistake. He goes, no. What? He said, did you do that? I didn't do that. The eyes translate what is inside. But if the child, that's why I was speaking to the, once we went for to give a witness for a Muslim brother at the police station, and the police station guy, he says that we read the eyes. Now when we are writing down the statement, we look at the eyes. That at what time does his eyes drop and he breaks that communication, and when he re-establishes that communication, by that we know if he's lying or not. No, the eyes. So if you're lying, you will drop your eye. You won't look into the eyes. So they say the best liar is that person who can lie whilst he's looking at you. He's the best liar. The best thief is that thief, and I met them in Pakistan, who can pull out a coin without creating a ripple. That's how they used to graduate in Gujarat. I met the thief. He said, I graduated with honors. I said, what are you talking about with honors? He said, there was a glass of water, they put a coin right at the bottom, and I have to dip my fingers into it. Pickpockets. And it does not create a ripple. Yeah? So that's Karate Kid. You see that Karate Kid, the master, like that. So when they are pickpocketed, we don't know. Gone. Absaruha khashia. The eyes will be lowered down. Now, khashia, have you heard that word before? Have you heard that word before? Khashia. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah 23, verse number 2. Allah speaks about those people that are successful. And Allah makes mention of people that establish salah with solemnity, with submissiveness. Khashi'ah means submissiveness. Now, think about it. On the Day of Judgment, this non-believer, he lowers his eyes, but I'm going to ask you a question. He lowers his eyes, he knows, oh, what a mistake I've made. How am I going to face my Creator? I'm going to face these Muslims that I used to taunt. Do you think he's got ego in him? At this time, do you think he's got any level of ego? Ego's gone. He's got no ego now. The theater of Akhirah has destroyed and eliminated his ego. He's got no ego there now. And let's go back to the verse in Surah Al-Mu'minun. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Same thing, humbled. He said, Allahu Akbar. He's got ego there. better, I am something. If he's got this ego, he has not established khushu. Khushu is not only humbling yourself. Khushu is humbling your soul, humbling your ego, humbling your negative, destructive emotions. That is khushu. Not only concentration. Concentrate. Yes, of course, I'm standing in front of Allah, but if the heart has not humbled itself, the ego has not been suppressed, and after exiting the salah, once again he becomes Pharaoh. He becomes the king of the time, the tyrant of the time. He has not established khushu. Khushu, khashi'a, means to humble yourself, not only physically, but even internally. Everything humble. Now I know that I'm nothing. That's how they're going to be on the Day of Judgment. And think about it, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl are going to be in that theater. They're going to see Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the king of the theater, the master of the theater. Think about any ego left. Those people that knew about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam but spoke ill of him, they knew about the religion but rejected. Can they have any ego? Do you think Pharaoh will have any ego at that time? When the veils were removed, at that time he made the statement, Amantu, I believe in the Lord of Moses. He even accepted at that time, ego dropped. This is the meaning of absaruha khashia. The eyes will drop down to the ground. Most probably our eyes will drop down to the ground, but it is out of modesty, so we don't look around and our eyes don't make tawaf of the hashr, because we are preparing ourselves to be presented in front of our Allah as we know. And they will lower their eyes because they know that they have failed. Next verse. يقولون أئنا لمردودون في الحافرة. They say, shall we indeed be returned to our former state of life? For the people of Arabia, it was near to impossible to fathom the concept of life after death. It was hard for them. They couldn't fathom it. They couldn't understand it. My experience with people that do not believe in religion, in faith, is to speak about life after death with these people. The more you speak about life after death, and that's why one of the most made mention themes in the Quran is of Akhirah. Because Akhirah gives you the understanding, the ability to make the right choices in this life. What Allah Almighty says that these people are saying, despite listening to the revelation, understanding the miraculous content of the glorious Quran, the construction of the wording, they say, يَقُولُونَ, they say, shall we be returned to the former state of life? Meaning they could not comprehend this. How are we going to do this? Now I would like to recite a verse from Surah Alif Lam Mim Sajda. Now, my noble brothers and sisters listening, try to make it your habit, your own sunnah, that you recite Alif Lam Mim Sajda, Surah 32 and Surah 67 after Maghrib before going to sleep. If you do recite these two surahs, Alif Lam Mim Sajda and Surah Al-Mulk, it is the wa'da, it is the promise of Nabi Kareem Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that Allah will grant you or establish for you a mention in Jannah. So if you can recite this each day, at the end of the year, excluding the month of Ramadan, you will have close to 330 houses. And in the month of Ramadan, you can multiply each day, or you can be certain that each day, for the recital of these two surahs, after Maghrib, before going to sleep, Allah will make 70 houses for you. Now, what does Allah Almighty say? I want you to listen from the glorious Quran. وَقَالُوا, and this is Surah 32, verse number 10. وَقَالُوا أَإِذَا ضَلَلْنَا فِي الْأَرْضِ أَإِنَّا لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. And they say, the non-believers, when we are lost in the earth. Our body has decomposed. Mitti se jaake mil gayi. Shall we indeed be recreated anew? We asked. Nay, Allah says, but they denied the meeting with their Lord. قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ الَّذِي وُكِّلَ بِكُمْ ثُمَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ تُرْجَعُونَ. Say, the angel of death, who is set over you, and anything that is set over you has full control over you. This meaning of set over you means control over you. Will take your souls, then you shall be brought to your Lord. Now what will happen? وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الْمُجْرِمُونَ نَاكِسُوا رُؤُوسِهِمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. And if you only could see when the mujrimun, the criminals, disbelievers, shall hang their heads before their Lord. Meaning that not an atom of ego is left in their system. They will hang their heads. You can't even look up. Hang their heads down. And then Allah says, and then saying, now they will say to Allah, our Lord, we have now seen and we have heard, so send us back to the world. We will do the righteous good deeds. Verily we know, we now believe with certainty. Now I'm just going to ask you a question. I want you to think about this. If Allah gave them a chance, if Allah gave, now they've seen everything, yes? They've seen everything. They knew they made the wrong choices. Whatever was said to them about Islam has become a reality. There's no doubt, there's no confusion. They stand on the Day of Judgment, they say, give us one chance. Do you think if they were given one chance, they will make the right choice, or they will make exactly the wrong choice that they made before? What do you think?
The wrong choice.
Huh?
The wrong choice.
You'll make the wrong choice again? The Quran says exactly the same. They will make the wrong choice again. I can't fathom that myself. وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذْ وُقِفُوا عَلَى النَّارِ فَقَالُوا يَا لَيْتَنَا نُرَدُّ وَلَا نُكَذِّبْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّنَا وَنَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بَلْ بَدَا لَهُم مَّا كَانُوا يَخْفُونَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَلَوْ رُدُّوا لَعَادُوا لِمَا نُهُوا. So if you go through the third section of Surah An'am, you will come to know that Allah has spoken about those people that if they were given a chance and they were sent to this world, they will make exactly the same mistake. What does that mean? How? Think about it. A person is standing on the edge of the fire of hell. This is the fire of hell. He's standing right there. It's just like going to Dream World and sitting on the giant drop. At the top it stops. And you look down. Oh, so high. You say, what am I doing? And at that time he says, you got me here today, I'm never going to come again. I'm never going to be sitting here again. But the next year, do you see him sitting there again? Yes. You see him sitting there again. How many times a human being says, I'm never going to do this again? Do you see him do it again? These people are going to be standing on the top. Everything is visible. It is on show. It is on display for them. But when they return back, they will make the same mistake. This in reality gives us the subtle understanding that the deception of this world is very, very strong. That's what it means. How fortunate are we that without seeing that theater with our naked eyes, Allah has given us the ability to pull away from this deception. How much should we thank Allah Almighty that without seeing it with our eyes, we only have understood that theater through knowledge, through words, through narratives, but we have not seen with the naked eye. These people will see with the naked eye, but when they return back, Allah Almighty says they will make the same mistake. Meaning that this world, the glitter and the glow of this world is so overwhelming, so dominant, that it will take over them once again. How do we safeguard ourselves? There's something special about you. There's something about you that Allah has chosen you to pull away from this deception. You are very, every Muslim person in the world is very dear to Allah, that without seeing with the naked eye, Allah has given the human being to pull away. This is the message of أَبْصَارُهَا خَاشِعَةٌ يَقُولُونَ أَإِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. And then Allah Almighty says, أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. Even after we are crumbled bones, they couldn't fathom this, that everything has perished. The body has decomposed, the bones have crumbled bit by bit. And many a times, when you go to Jannatul Baqi in Madinatul Munawwara, you should go there, experience this. This is my own experience. When you pick up the soil, it seems like there is bones in that soil. It's crumbled. You know, it's a qabristan before the arrival of Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Well before. Good people are buried there, of course, after the advent of Nabi Kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But bad people have been buried there as well. And the soil, you can feel that there are bones in that soil. I'm going to share a story in regards to that qabristan. Crumbled bones. There is a Fundaqul Akhzar. It was the first 5-star hotel in Madinatul Munawwara. The Green Palace. That is the English name. So you can go there and visit. Most of this not down there. So this was the first 5-star hotel in Madinatul Munawwara. So when I went to perform Umrah, I was sitting in the lounge, and one person passed by. He was the master chef, head chef. So he found me speaking Urdu to a brother. So he said, "Brother, you speak Urdu?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Lahore." He said, "Maybe Lahore ka?" I'm from Lahore as well. So, so straight away in my mind, I don't have to worry about food now. I get the best food. So, you know, we gossiped and we spoke and this and that. He said, I have been here since 1960, around that time. I have been in Madinatul Munawwara. Allah has blessed me and I've been here. I lived all my life. So, every night he used to make a dish that I used to choose. So sometimes palak, gosh, and this and that, the best dishes he used to make. And he was a marvelous chef. So one day he was sitting and I said, "Can you tell me some stories about Medina? You've been here for the last 40 years, 50 years. So he said, "I'll share 2 stories with you." So one story is not relevant to this. Second story is relevant. So I'm going to speak about the story first that is not relevant. Just as a story. But there's a lesson in that story. There's a big lesson in that story. He said that in the old days, in the 1940s, 50s and 60s, in Makkah al-Mukarramah, in Madinatul Munawwara, the Jallah, the execute, the one that used to execute, he used to come, and normally what used to happen is the criminal used to be standing. He used to stand like this, right? And then the Jallad used to come from behind and chop his head off. That's it. And then the head used to fall, and then after some time, the body used to drop. He said that in the 60s or 70s, I don't remember the dates, but he said I was there. There was one person from Pakistan. He was accused of a crime, and he said, "I did not commit the crime." But all the shawahid and all the witnesses, they were against him, against his statement. So the Qadi of the time said that this person has to be executed. So when he was standing in that arena where he was to be executed, there was solace on his face, there was no fear, and the Qadi said, do you want to say something? He said, I will hold you responsible on the day of judgment. I did not commit this crime. So he was standing like this, I didn't commit the crime. But anyway, against the shawahid, all the witnesses were against him. So when they chopped his head off, his head remained with the body. And he kept talking. And he said that I did not commit the crime. So the sword has passed through, but the head is still there and is still speaking. I have not committed the crime. So now the judge and everyone understood they made a mistake. This is a miracle. But they're so scared. So they send one person, they push the body. When the body is pushed, the head falls to the side and it keeps talking. Wow, he said, we were there. The head kept speaking that I did not commit the crime. From that day onwards, they made it the law that when they're going to execute somebody, they put a basket and they make the person sit down like this. So this is about adl. This is about justice. Of course, the judge did not make the decision knowingly, but this was what he decided according to the evidence, and of course it didn't work out. Now, what is relevant to this? This is an amazing story. He said that when Masjid al-Nabi was being made, there were many, many houses, old houses, that were being knocked down. So they had to expand the mosque, the area, so houses were being knocked down. So he said there was one particular house. That when the workers used to go inside, they used to feel afraid. There was something, about that house. It was like it was haunted. You enter through the door and you get the creeps, and they used to walk out. So no worker was ready to work upon the destruction of that house. So this became the talk of the town. So now the government said, look, these people are not knocking this house down, we're running out of time, so on and so forth. So just put some dynamite there, we will blow it up. So he said that all the people of Medina, especially those that were residing around Masjid al-Nabi in those days, they were standing to see and witness what is going to happen, because they knew that there was something in this house. Now Jannatul Baqi was around the corner, as we see nowadays, it wasn't too far away. So he said that when they blew up the dynamite, he said we were all there, and there was dust. When the dust settled down, to our amazement, we saw a unique creation lying there. It was like a snake, a very long snake, dark in complexion, but it was something that we had never seen before. It was a ajib type of makhluk, and it was looking at us. It was very hairy, but it was like a snake, very hairy, looking at us. So everyone became scared. So immediately this snake, it started to move towards Jannatul Baqi. It went into Jannatul Baqi and it disappeared. So the ulama of Madinatul Munawwara made mention that this was a makhluk of adab in the qabr. And Allah showed it to the people of Madinatul Munawwara. So ilmul yaqeen can become aynul yaqeen. And he said, this person says from that day onwards, I have never missed a prayer. So he was in Medina missing prayers. But when this happened, he said, I could not miss a prayer. And he said, I can't forget that face of that animal when it was looking at us. But the order was not to attack. It went into Jannatul Baqi and it disappeared. What does Allah Almighty say in this ayah? إِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرًا, even after we are crumbled bones, قَالُوا تِلْكَ إِذًا كَرَّةٌ خَاسِرَةٌ, they say it would in that case be a return with loss. So they are making a mockery of the concept of life after death. They're saying that, look, if we are going to be resurrected, recreated, regenerated, reborn, and we're going to stand on the day of judgment, we're going to be in loss. Meaning that we're not going to be in loss because there is no day of judgment. This is the meaning of this. So this is sarcasm. This is the height of disrespect, defiance, the height of defiance and disrespect, that we're never going to be in loss. If we believe in this concept, that means we're going to be in loss because we're not believing it. So that means this concept is incorrect. Once a person has crumbled, his bones, he has decomposed, he will never be brought back to life again. So Allah Almighty says, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. But only it will be a single zajr. All your confusion that you have about the religion and life after death will become vivid. It will become clear, demystified once the trumpet is blown. And if a person dies, death will make everything clear. مَنْ مَاتَ فَقَدْ قَامَتْ قِيَامَتُهُ. A person who dies, his day of judgment has started. So when the last moment comes, everything becomes clear. That what I was thinking was wrong. What I had accepted was wrong. We're going to conclude, فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. When, behold, they find themselves over the earth alive after their death. Now, Sahira, I would like you to focus upon the word Sahira. In reality, is a reference to the grounds of Hashr. And Sahira means a plain surface where there's no mountain barriers, no caves, no trees. It is level and there is no obstacle in front of you. What does Allah Almighty say in Surah Ibrahim? يَوْمَ تُبَدَّلُ الْأَرْضُ غَيْرَ الْأَرْضِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ وَبَرَزُوا لِلَّهِ الْوَاحِدِ الْقَهَّارِ. That this earth will be replaced with a new earth. It was shaken, it was destroyed. This earth will be replaced with another earth. The sky above us will be replaced with another sky. Because what did Allah say in Surah Naba? وَفُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا. So the theater will have to be decorated, adorned, beautified. So the earth will be replaced with another earth. The sky will be replaced with another sky. وَبَرَزُوا. And then all the creation of Allah will come in front of Wahid, that one Allah, Al-Qahhar, the irresistible, stand in front of Allah. So this ground that we are standing on right now, that carries our load, and when we die, it allows us to be buried in it. This ground will not be the ground, the exact ground on which we assemble and give a hisab kitab, but Allah will replace it with another one. Allah Almighty says in Surah Taha, لا ترى فيها عوجا ولا أمتا. عوجا ولا أمتا. The land on which we will stand on the day of judgment, عوجا, it does not have crookedness. ولا أمتا, no curves. It is absolutely straight. Now if you were to stand on a level surface where there is no mountain barriers, no caves, no trees, and you were to look, how far can you look?
16 kilometers.
How much?
16 kilometers.
16 kilometers. That's how far you're going to look. Think about it. 3 million people, they perform Hajj. If they were to stand in a ground, 3 million people, and there was no mountain barriers, no trees, no caves, do you think that you could see them all? You could see them. True. You could see them all. But you would see the last person. You will see him, the last person. Then you know after that there's a desert. But I want you to depict that moment. And that's what the Quran wants us to do. Wants us to place ourselves in the moment. That on the day of judgment there's no crookedness. It is absolutely straight, level, nothing in front of you, only human beings. And there's not 3 million, there's not 3 billion. There are countless human beings, countless jinnat, countless malaika, and you will see your vision will come to an end at a certain point, but the makhluk of Allah will not come to an end. There will be another set of makhlukat beyond your vision. This is the ayat that we discussed tonight. I thought I would have time to encapsulate these ayat. What we're going to do next week, the verses that we covered tonight, I want you to remember these verses by a lesson. And that lesson is going to be discussed next week. That lesson will encapsulate the set of ayat that we studied tonight.